Hello, everyone, and thank you for attending today's webcast on how GE develops leaders globally through online learning, brought to you by ETD's Senior Leader and Executive Community of Practice. You can find more on this and other senior leader topics by visiting td.org, selecting Communities of Practice, and then Senior Leaders and Executives. First, I'd like to thank our sponsor for today, NovoEd, helping you transform learning with their online platform for the modern learner. Today, I have the pleasure of introducing our presenters, Sara Ley and Greg Bybee. A special thanks to Sara and Greg for joining us today. Sara is the Digital Learning and Technology Leader for GE and is responsible for leading curriculums for BrilliantYOU. Sara is also the leader for Jacksonville's Women's Network Hub and an active volunteer for the United Way of Northeast Florida. Greg is an education technologist and vice president at NovoEd. He and his team have designed, built, and launched more than 500 training programs, reaching more than 1.5 million learners. A quick reminder, we will be taking all of our questions at the end of the presentation, so please send any questions through the chat function. And now, without further ado, I would like to hand the microphone over to Sara and Greg.
Great, thank you very much. My name is Greg Bybee, and I'm the Vice President of Learning Experience at NovoEd, and I'm honored to open this session with GE to learn how GE is developing leaders globally through online learning. I'll start for about 5 minutes and share a bit about NovoEd and what we're seeing across our clients and GE in particular, and then I'll pass it over to Sara to go deep into an overview of how they're developing leaders online. So I want to start by asking, what is your best learning experience? Is it a large lecture hall with a famous instructor? Is it an online course taken when and where you want it? Or is it an in-person workshop collaborating with a team? When we talk to all of our clients, what we hear consistently is that the best learning experiences come from these in-person collaborative workshops. And that's because they're experiential. People are working together on something, they're applied. What you're working on has real significance and real meaning. And they're collaborative and peer-to-peer. People are chatting, they're giving feedback. Often they're broken into smaller groups, given a challenge to work through, and then asked to give each other feedback on what worked and what didn't work. And they're project-based. You're actually working on something, could be a problem, could be a case, could be a role play or a simulation, but there's something meaningful that you're working on. And during my Master's of Education, one thing I learned is that this is what we know makes for the best learning, and we've known this for years, that the best learning is constructivist and it's experiential. And if you think about where this is most important and probably where you see this most commonly in your organizations, it's in topics like leadership development, innovation and design thinking, creativity, strategy and decision making, customer service or customer intimacy and support, sales, negotiation, and then also with employee onboarding, where it's important to build a culture among new employees. And really, these are some of the best practices we see in our clients for truly engaging and effective learning. And if you look at this set of topics, what you'll realize is that they're actually the most important for business today. It's these maybe softer skills or higher order skills. These are what CEOs and CLOs are most concerned about right now. It's about leadership, it's about innovation, it's about sales and customer service. These are sort of the new competitive differentiators, and all of these skills require this action learning and this experiential learning. And if we take a look at how GE has historically solved this, in some ways very similar to a lot of our clients, although GE really continues to be a leader in leadership development. They have a campus called Crotonville in New York, and essentially a GE university where they bring potential leaders together in person to go through an experience that I would say is very similar to a top-tier business school. It starts with a discussion seminar with, in this case, the CEO, a senior leader, to work through a case study, a role play. There's some question and answers, some discussions, some problem solving, and then they'll break folks out into smaller groups to work on projects together and then share the results of that project with each other. So they figured out how to teach leadership in person in small groups. But the problem is only 15% of employees are able to attend this experience in any classroom, and even fewer in the specific Crotonville locations. And this is something we see consistently across our clients, is that the senior executives, the vice presidents, the high potentials, the sort of fast performers are getting really great training, either through the organization or through executive education programs, through training programs. But the problem is this learning doesn't cascade throughout the organization. It's not able to reach the other 85%. And so that's been, if I think about online learning or training and development over the past 5 to 10 years, the challenge people have been trying to solve is, well, how do we scale that? And of course, everyone looked to online learning. Online learning seems to be the best way. That's what we'll do. We'll simply take that session, we'll record it, and we'll put it online and make it available for the entire organization. But the problem is, when you simply record the sessions or create PowerPoint slides and some click-through modules, what you're really doing is replicating the lecture hall online. You're not replicating that project-based session, because the key to the project-based session is working, is action learning, it's doing, it's not watching. And so at NovoEd, we're constantly asking the question of, well, why does online learning replicate the lecture hall? What we know is online learning should be as experiential as those great in-person workshops. And that's exactly what NovoEd does. So NovoEd is the learning platform for the modern workforce, and it helps to replicate the experience of great in-person learning online. So it's built for the modern learner. It's mobile compatible, works across all devices, phone, tablet, internet, runs in the cloud, and it really empowers social learning through profiles, discussion groups, work sharing, user-generated content, and perhaps most importantly, through project-based collaboration. So in addition to the broad lectures or the broad discussions, you're able to break people out into groups to work together and collaborate on a project, and then you're able to share those projects across teams to get feedback from either small groups or the entire course, and also to get mentorship on a one-on-one basis or within small teams. And all of this is tracked through the power of online learning. You're able to measure the learning and then report on the outcomes. And what we find from this reporting across our clients is that by adopting NovoEd, you're not just improving your training, but you're actually able to start transforming the workforce. And what I mean by this, or what we're seeing across our clients, is that now this high-stakes training that we started talking about, leadership, the innovation, customer service, is able to cascade throughout the organization. And so our clients are able to launch products faster now because you're able to train the sales force in the field more quickly. They're able to increase revenue in sales because they're able to close deals better or shorten their sales cycle. Customer satisfaction and NPS, Net Promoter Scores, increase. Mean time to resolution for support teams is decreasing. And retention, probably I think the most impressive, is that retention of not just the people going through the training, but those managed by leaders who go through the training programs online have increased dramatically. And we're seeing these results across all of our clients really in two buckets: those that large organizations doing employee training. So it's examples ING, GE, Nestle, Fidelity, Sanofi, Genzyme, as well as our clients that are training organizations or universities that are working with large organizations to deliver their content, like Stanford Graduate School of Business, UVA Darden, Berkeley Haas, IDEO, and Deloitte. But we're here to really hear about GE and dive into that one in particular and learn how GE has been able to scale their Crotonville experience across the entire organization. And for that, I'm delighted to introduce Sara Ley, a friend that I've been working with for almost 2 years now. She's the digital learning leader at GE, and she's really responsible for the content, the curation, and really, I would say, creating and scaling BrilliantYOU. So with that, I'm excited to introduce Sara Ley.
Thanks so much, Greg, and thanks everyone for joining and to hearing about our journey through online learning and expanding our reach. Kind of have an open dialogue today. I know we'll take some questions at the end. Give you guys a little bit of context on, GE as a culture and, what's driving our decision to move forward and expand digitally. So, as we look at our context today, and many of you are probably facing some of the same challenges, right? It's disruptive, it's innovative. GE being a very large global company made up of various businesses with 300,000 plus employees in under 180 countries, with a lot of the growth happening outside of the U.S., we have a lot of challenges. And as we think about us reinventing ourselves in digital industrial, we think of ourselves as a 125-year-old startup, and so that is impacting the way we do work, the way we think about work, the culture of our organizations and our teams, the way we're getting work done. And that goes into how do we support our leaders? How do we bring new skill sets like design thinking or additive manufacturing, et cetera, to our workforce? And then also, I was talking about the employees as we go at the last bubble. 65% are outside of the U.S., a lot in, many growing areas in emerging countries. And so we put all this together and we think about the reach that Crotonville from a leadership organization has had. We have a large room to expand our reach. And so as we thought about our digital strategy and how to do that, right, online is the obvious choice. And coming from, the Crotonville Leadership Organization that's been around since 1956, very much to the culture of classroom. And so for many of us in the learning community, and maybe have worked in online, know how that has really evolved. And platforms that like NovoEd provides really gives us a increased capability to bring those maybe in-classroom experiences beyond, right, into the digital online space. So as we think about learning and what our learners are expecting, right, how many of us say, hey, I don't know that, I'm going to go Google it, right, or I'm going to go learn how to do that on YouTube. Everything is real-time, smaller chunks, on demand, but we still want to be connected, right? So as we think about kind of the what is and what we have, right, and some of us coming also from like the e-learning, right, and people thinking, and equating always the online experience to that, as Greg was mentioning, and really helping them realize what it could be, and how it can be personal and social, and really building that daily digital habit. So as we embarked on the digital strategy at Crotonville, that's where BrilliantYOU began to take shape. So for us, being that 125-year-old startup and having that mindset, really putting different experiments out there, testing with our learners, pivoting where we needed to, continuing to move forward with what we're doing to bring what our learners are needing, where they're at in their roles, where they're needing to develop in their leadership capabilities, and, meeting their needs. So kind of going through BrilliantYOU and kind of our ABCDE, kind of walk you through how we've done that to really reach our learners through online. So again, right, as I talked about our team really being a startup, right, a mighty team of 7, and working with various kind of a horizontal team as well, and continuing to iterate. So as we did that in new product ideas, we've really, we continue to experiment, and as I said, as we test within these spaces, right? Like nothing, we don't launch anything without UX, right? Testing with our learners. And then also thinking about how do we curate the experiences to achieve the outcomes we're wanting to see, right? Are we looking for a culture mindset or a behavior mindset? Really building that into the capability of a platform, but also what are the experiences that we're curating. Just a little bit about how we operate. And then as we think about also challenges I'm sure many of us all face, right? We only have so much budget. How do we bring the best in class opportunities to our learners within our organizations, and knowing that we only have so many resources, only so much time, and only so much money. So some is kind of shifting our thinking and, some of you may be involved in programs and you're bringing in third parties to help you, right? And then they have various licensing requirements. And so we kind of shifted our mindset from the Capex to the OPEX and moving towards more of a pay by what we use. And that's really helped us bring a more robust portfolio, if you will, to our marketplace of BrilliantYOU and providing more opportunities, knowing that we're able to pay for what we're consuming versus signing up for maybe 100 or 2,000 licenses for something and hoping that those get consumed. We also look, as we look at the marketplace, bringing in partners, right? Direct access for marketing, and then those partner relationships I can't talk enough about, and that's the space that I've been really focused on the past year and a half. So again, or just almost 2 years, and that's where I've met Greg, right? So as he mentioned, we've been working together, and as we looked at bringing more of those online experiences to our GE employees, we looked out in the marketplace. We looked at, the different platforms that were available, and we said, there's times where we should make it and create it ourselves, right, because that's what makes sense, and maybe that goes into, our GE culture or, the way we do things that's different than you can't pull from somebody else who might be offering it. So it's kind of the make, or do we buy something, or do we partner? And so, Greg had a slide where they had some different external partners that are also bringing opportunities to GE with their portfolio of courses and offerings. So it's been great, and it's part of those relationships that are really helping us realize and filling some of the competencies and capabilities that we have within GE, the needs that we have. Another example is our sales academy, our commercial academy had a need, and equipping our sales force with some different mindset and how they approach selling. And as you do that, and you think about the numbers that we have to reach and trying to stand up in-person classrooms, and on top of, if you've worked with sales folks, trying to bring salespeople out of the field, right, to stop selling for a few days, they're not always the happiest groups to bring into a classroom and away from potential deals. So NovoEd has helped us bring our curriculum in a really engaging online experience that's social, that's connected, that's bringing people, that sales group through, different capabilities and training in a great, meaningful way, and of course, making it available via mobile, right? Because they want to do it wherever they are. Maybe they've got an hour before a client meeting, and they're able to go in and do their training. So again, the marketplace piece, and I can't highlight enough the partnerships that have helped us realize and support that digital strategy that we set forward with. And then, subscription. So I think, an example, some of you may be familiar with Safari Books, which is an IT portfolio of books, and that's one example that we're sharing that enables our folks to sign up, kind of subscribe, and access the portfolio anytime, and then how we go back to our businesses, right? So that internal piece on how we're paying for things, and employees and businesses and teams are kind of paying for what they use, and in oftentimes real time, which makes it much more convenient, right? And it's also helping us understand kind of our costs. So if you think about the full picture, if that group was going just direct to Safari versus going through the subscription, right, there's cost savings there, being able to centralize things from a sourcing and entire, portfolio. So you can kind of see where we've put in a small investment to start up, where we're able to reduce dollars, and really we're able to kind of experiment with different business models that, some of our partners or providers in the past, as we come to them and approach them with a different model or mindset or ask, it's been an interesting shift for us. So that's, it's been great. And many partners just, you know, when you first say, hey, how can we just, you know, pay for what we use, you know, first their jaws drop a little bit at times, but then we really can figure out, because we've got those you know, the partnerships are strong, to figure out how to make it work. So now just talking about some of the products or how we've built BrilliantYOU and the components of it. So as we thought about digital strategy and bringing online learning to our employees, again, we think about the way people learn, what their preferences, you know, are they coming in to take a full course? Are they just wanting a 5-minute video? You know, what's their need at the moment? And how are they wanting to consume or to learn, right? So we all know everybody has different preferences. So as we thought about the digital piece and how we would reach people, we thought of it kind of in the small bits or chunks of learning, which we talked about learning nuggets or bits. We have moments, and then we have credentials, which would equate to your classes. So as you think about that, that's helped us also around some of our products and how we approach or bring different curriculum or learning opportunities to our employees, and how we curate. So SmartBits was something that launched a little bit before our BrilliantYOU platform did. It is an internal blog kind of focused around that daily digital learning habit. It started with, you know, a ghostwriter, if you will, which didn't work, and people wanted, you know, to hear from real people. And then that created like this editorial group that was out, you know, putting out posts 3 times a week. We quickly learned people liked a weekly theme. It evolved into us being able to bring on contributing writers, and now it's open. So anybody can go and publish, kind of like if you equate it to like LinkedIn and influencers on LinkedIn, anybody can post within SmartBits and contribute. And those who are regular contributors evolve into kind of our influencers. And it's interesting, you know, people talk about how do you collect data, and, you know, you can like SmartBits, you can share, you know, these posts, which are rich in not just maybe thoughts, but sharing articles and concepts around leadership or various topics. So we can always collect how many comments do we receive, or likes, or shares, but some of the non-quantitative data, the qualitative of people reflecting, people sending personal emails to those who have written the post has been really impactful. So kind of sharing some of the testimonials or sharing those moments, it's hard to capture from a data, right? So those who want to see a dashboard, like, well, you know, how do you really put a metric on the true impact on somebody? So it's been great. SmartBits recently got an award for the work that they're doing. So excited about that. Videos, books, I think that's a piece where around, you know, being able to capture videos, be able to search, to share and promote things. These are some of the other products that we have within BrilliantYOU that help people find what they're looking for as well. And then we get into highlighting some of the other opportunities, right? And we talked about maybe the credentials, where we've been curating and designing our own internal, we call them MOOCs, and those in the learning space probably wouldn't classify them as MOOCs. They're probably more like SPOCs, right? Small, private, open courses that run for a few weeks. Then for us, the GE ones are very specific to us. And I would say before we brought in our partner MOOCs or online experiences, the appetite within our own organization, it was really a change in mindset that we could have really great learning opportunities for our employees online, right? So those who really love the classroom, and, you know, there's definitely at Crotonville and at GE, we value the in-person just as much as the online. But it's been interesting to see the mindset shift of people adopting the potential for online over the past year and a half. So it's been a great success for us. You know, this slide shows you 5 total MOOCs. I can tell you for 2017, just alone in our functional space, there's like 22 new MOOCs wanting to be or online experience courses being developed this year on top of the ones that leadership have identified. So that's great. I think that's a testimonial towards, you know, our learning community and internally adopting the potential and understanding the value that online learning can bring, especially as we're trying to reach, you know, hundreds of thousands of employees across the globe. Partner MOOCs, again, we have some amazing partners that are bringing great opportunities to us, and it's really complementing our Crotonville and functional portfolios. So, you know, if you can have a IDEO bring you 5 different classes that they're offering out in the marketplace to your GE employees on design thinking and those concepts, when that's a big win for us, right? We may have pockets of expertise internally, but nothing as what IDEO with Tim Brown and the expertise that they bring. You know, IDEO is using NovoEd's platform as well. You know, we have a successful program on like authentic leadership, right? So you think about leadership presence, executive presence, a big demand for that within our organization. And you think about that type of content and being able to do that in an online format with rave reviews from the participants, really another testimonial for the online space that we have. And then, of course, mobile, right? I think many of us look at the capabilities and functionalities and the value that mobile can bring. So that's another piece that goes into our online and digital strategy for learning. And then just to highlight a few other things that we have that our platform is really enabling as we think about digital strategy and online learning. BrilliantYOU we see as like that one-stop shop for learning at GE. So again, if I go back a couple of years and we said, looked around all the businesses and functions and, you know, sub-businesses, et cetera, and identify all of the different learning portals, sites, et cetera, that are out there. And you think about yourself as a learner, if I'm in corporate and I'm in HR and I'm in L&D, and so I'm breaking down kind of what business I'm in, what function I am, you know, and I'm starting to look for learning opportunities. I'm like, oh, is there specific corporate training? Do I go to this site? Oh, is there specific HR learning? Oh, I go over to this portal, right? So, you know, you're getting whiplash even trying to locate everything in learning, right? And as a learner, I'm one person. So BrilliantYOU is bringing capability to bring those opportunities as a learner in one place, right? So I can go into BrilliantYOU and say, I'm looking to develop my negotiation skills, right? And I can go and I can search for negotiation and you know, link that to myself. And so collections is a way for us to curate opportunities around a topic. Academies, again, that's really breaking down into, you know, maybe HR, commercial, business specific, and, you know, competencies, et cetera. And then campuses. Greg mentioned Crotonville, our campus in Austin, New York. I had some pictures of that. I was actually in that stadium seating pit, the auditorium last week for our global meeting. But we do have other campuses around the globe, like in Rio and Shanghai, et cetera, that are linked to our global research centers. So again, BrilliantYOU kind of bringing all of our learning ecosystems and focuses and competencies, et cetera, in one place. So of course, you know, I mentioned as I was talking about SmartFit, you know, some of that is we definitely can quantify and show the engagement, and then some of it is things we can talk about and understand that value. And this is a slide that just shows some of us around what we did last year, bringing in the capability to for our employees to join us, if you will. So we have this Join BrilliantYOU campaign where people would opt in to be able to receive the messages from us, right? So we don't, you know, just spam it, if you will, everybody's mailbox. People opt in to receive messages from us. It's all voluntary, and that those rates continue to go up. So you can see where we have had marketing campaigns in mid last year and how the engagement has spiked. So, you know, since where we were, we have around 90,000 people who have opted in to BrilliantYOU. And again, BrilliantYOU soft launched in Q4 of 2015 and really was gaining momentum as communication and more messaging was being sent out in mid-year last year. So you can see there's a ton of work being done in many different areas to help with that engagement because we know, right, learners are social, and how do we keep connected? And then as you think about, for us as a platform, what we're doing this year to even make it more personal, and as we, you know, we talk about digital industrial at GE and how do we use data, right, and how do we put sensors and things on our big industrial machines like our jet engines and our locomotives and our wind turbines and et cetera, and how do we gain data to make business decisions, right, or have better intelligence on maintenance and service. We're able to have BrilliantYOU be on top of Predix, which is our data platform, to also help us within the learning space. So now as we are collecting more and more data, how the platform can then be a lot smarter about recommending and providing inputs based on who you are as a learner, based on various systems that we have around GE. You think about, you know, maybe your HR, Oracle, we have Oracle HR, right? So it's got data on you. Maybe from your learning history from the LMS, what data is there. Now what are you searching? You know, you think about maybe your own Amazon site. Your Amazon homepage probably looks different from mine. You know, you're going to pull mine up and it's like, oh, those are some nice boots. Maybe I do need those based on what I bought last week. So that's some of the focus for us this year as we look at continuing to look at the data. And then data gives us other insights too, right? What the quality of what we have on there, right? We may have put a course out there or a video, and you know the commentary on it's not great, right? Maybe that's telling us that's not something we should continue to move forward with, right? And something we take down and put something else back up. You know, the items showing here, like Yelp-like ratings, the likes, the shares, the comments, great things that can come out of that. And then, you know, looking at how many page views and the engagement. Because we look at another metric for us that kind of drives success looking at BrilliantYOU is our reach. So as we look at how many unique users have visited BrilliantYOU, where are they? You know, there's a lot of things that we can do to direct and to bring things regionally. So that's a focus that we're at right now. And also looking at the length of time, right? The duration people are staying within the site has significantly increased as we've moved along. So again, some metrics that are great for us to see how we're engaging with our learners, what they're finding valuable, and knowing that they're staying longer, right? They're finding more things that are meaningful than, you know, maybe popping in for 30 seconds and leaving. And this just kind of talks through kind of where we've been and some different metrics as well on engagement and how we continue to grow the BrilliantYOU community, which continues to increase. And it's really exciting. As of last week, I should have updated this slide for today. I apologize, guys, because we're close to 160,000 unique users who visited BrilliantYOU, and about 4.5 minutes of staying on the site. And then this is just talking, again, as we look at the data, how we're structuring the ontology, the taxonomy within to make, you know, the recommendations and others move forward. They're looking at, you know, natural language processing, you know, mapping competencies, and again, driving those recommendations to make it a much more personal experience for our learners. So we've got a lot of the components that feed into BrilliantYOU, and now it's making it much more personalized. So kind of coming and giving some time for Q&A. I've seen the chat. I haven't been able to read a lot of the chat, guys, just so you know. I see some great questions coming in, so we'll get to those in a few minutes. Just want to kind of wrap with some of our challenges and suggestions as maybe you're thinking about the learning programs within your organizations or where you're supporting, and what, you know, what's been impactful for us, right? So really understanding, you know, your infrastructure and your systems. Sometimes, you know, what you might be set up with is not conducive to make those changes. And like I said, those learning resources and communities maybe not prepared for the disruption of that change, right? Moving and engaging and embracing more of the online and digital. If you don't have that within your organizations today, the mindset could not be as ready to move forward and be as supportive up front, but it's been, I can tell you from experience and being a part of this journey from over 3 years, that we're right now at such a pivotal place of people joining that there's a lot going on. Be careful what you ask for. Again, right, what are your learning metrics? What are you wanting to measure? Because what you did before may not work for your future. Taxonomy and ontology is huge, right? If you don't have thoughts around that or be prepared for what you're bringing into your ecosystem and how you're setting that up, that can be a big red flag or a roadblock that you would hit. So for us, right, we brought in a lot of assets and resources, and some of them are not GE, right? They're third party. So aligning all of that accordingly, because as you think about recommending something to somebody or an individual going in and, you know, for us, using the BrilliantYOU search, just like instead of them going out to Google, they're coming to BrilliantYOU. Well, if those search results are bringing back anything that's relevant for them, you're going to lose them. So making sure that that piece is right is huge. And for us, right, we're still, I say, like, we're toddlers within our organization. We're very new. People have quickly hooked on over the last 8 months, and there's still a huge story for us to tell and for them to understand. You know, initially, people were thinking we were trying to replace our learning management system, and that wasn't our intent at all. People within our organization, within our learning community, thought we were, you know, replacing these in-person classroom trainings, right? So then they're quickly, you know, putting up a barrier, thinking that, you know, online is going to replace all of that, and that wasn't it at all, right? We were complementing. in wanting to expand, especially as we know the classroom wasn't reaching as many employees and bringing opportunities that they needed to do. I'll quickly share something that was really impactful for me it's been over a year at this point. Shortly after we launched BrilliantYOU, it was still a soft launch. People were wondering what it is. I had many dialogues with different business leaders or teams, many different folks within the HR community. So this was an ongoing, conversation that I was having. And again, it goes down to that, constantly telling your strategy and approach so people understood it and would join you. So it was a Thursday morning. I'm sitting in my home office like I am right now. I'm surrounded by windows. It's sunny. The trees are blowing. It's a lovely day, and I'm sitting there, and I see this, my meeting comes up. I'm going to have this conversation with an HR manager and expecting to, share the story and the journey and what the vision is and where we're going. And the call, surprisingly, instead of it being kind of like, hey, what are you guys up to? What are you doing? The HR leader starts with, thank you. And we're really excited about BrilliantYOU. We're so excited about the opportunities that you're bringing with some of these online partners with these online experiences. He said, I'm an HR leader and I'm in Iraq, and I haven't been able to bring any classroom training to our employees here for their development because of ISIS. And at that moment, and I still get goosebumps today as I think about that morning back in October of 2015, because one, it's not sunny Florida for everybody else. It brought me to his reality. It got very real, and it solidified my passion around what we were doing to bring the learning to our employees where they are and when they need it. So it was really significant for me, and it was a moment that I'll always remember on why we were doing what we were doing. And even the naysayers or the detractors at the time weren't going to stop what we had ahead of us and what we were doing within BrilliantYOU. So, sorry for a little sidetrack, but just going through the last couple, right? It takes time. If we would have not continued to persevere and we launched BrilliantYOU, we had the Crotonville in-classroom trainings, we had our online partner trainings, and that was about it. And as we walk through kind of the products that we have in BrilliantYOU, where we have smart bits, the videos, the books, the academies, the collections, we have podcasts now, and other curation and paths. We wouldn't have got there. It's taken time. We continue to iterate and to move forward. And again, you got to push back. And the other key piece for us, we had a mission. We knew what we were going after from a platform and the opportunities we wanted to bring to employees. And we always continued to keep the learner in everything that we do, from the user experience to the user interface, how the platform, to the wording, to the colors, to what's being curated within the site, and making sure that we're keeping that learner at the center. So I thank you. I'll conclude with that. And it's been an exciting journey for us, and and how we've approached it. And again, it's been just like a toddler, right? And it's taken some baby steps, and here, a year and a half later, well, not even a year and a half, it's an exciting time, and a lot of things happening within the online space for us at GE. So thanks.
All right, and I had lots of questions that have come in from our participants. We will get through what we can in the next 15 minutes or so. And what I'm going to do is just start from the questions I received first and go down through the list. And if we aren't able to get to all of them today, we encourage you to reach out to the presenters, and they will try to do the same for you. So the first question we have, are these trainings you hold mandatory to all GE employees?
So what's available in BrilliantYOU is not mandatory today. We do have some of our curriculum, our portfolio, are nomination-based, right? So you might get nominated to go to one of our learning experiences. You know, your manager may, quote unquote, mandate you to attend a certain training or ask you to sign up. But none of this today, we, like our compliance or environmental health and safety type of curriculum are not included within the marketplace portfolio that BrilliantYOU is offering today. That's all housed in our LMS.
Thank you. And could you remind us, what is the difference between Capex and OPEX that you talked about in the beginning?
Yeah, it's really on if you're capitalizing your spend, so it kind of comes down to the funding as you're looking at your budget. So, and I'm not a finance expert, you guys, I'll be very honest about that. But I know within how we look at the spend within the organization, if we can move it from the Capex, capitalization piece to OPEX, then we have potential there in savings.
What do people leaders use for just-in-time performance support for soft skills and situational leadership issues?
So that's a great question, and one that I probably would give you this long list at this point. So within BrilliantYOU, again, I'll mention the search, right? Search was a real critical piece for us. And if you go in and search, and I think I mentioned like negotiation skills, or let's, you know, from a people leader perspective, you know, you need to have a coaching conversation, right, with your employee. You can go into BrilliantYOU and pull up coaching if you don't know where to get started, and you're going to get the Smart Bits post, which could have some great commentary, great blog, an article, maybe an HBR article in there, a video, or the search results bringing up HBR articles or videos or books or book summaries. So it's kind of like what kind of resource that you're needing kind of in that just-in-time moment, or there could be a coaching course. You know, so our search is really segmented kind of by product that we have in BrilliantYOU. And then we also have curated collections as well. So if I'm a people leader and I'm going into that collection, I'm going to see a whole kind of competency around and assets curated around coaching. So again, this comes into that, I talk about the taxonomy and ontology of things for people to be able to find what they're looking for when they need it, and then giving them the opportunity to select how they want to consume that information.
What happens if local teams opt out of the trainings?
So I'm going to assume it's probably somebody saying something that, you know, they've an experience or like a course that you're signing up for. For us, it's kind of dependent, right? Is that a kind of an on-demand type course, right, where you can come in and, you know, if you don't complete it, there may not be a penalty for that. But then for us, depending on if it's classroom or even our online experiences, if you're signing up, you know, there could be penalties, right? If I said, hey, I think I used the UC Berkeley executive for the offensive leadership, right? If we said, hey, we're going to have 50 GE employees, here's our roster, and they enroll them and all of that, and then somebody wants to cancel, you know, it could come down to that partnership saying, hey, UC Berkeley, you know, Bob doesn't want to take the class anymore. You know, do I have to pay for the seat? You know, maybe we can get Bob backing out of his budget, but we do have the cancellation policies and stuff that people agree to, and that's all part of kind of our administration as well. So it depends is the answer, because, you know, what kind of experience are they you know, enrolling for and then trying to get, you know, canceled out of.
Do you have all this content organized in the same platform? If so, what platform do you use? is it integrated on NovoEd, or do employees have to manage themselves through different platforms?
Okay. So when I talk about BrilliantYOU, that's for us our one-stop shop for learning, if you will, at GE. And within that, we have various providers coming in, right? So it may be a connection to a book resource, right? Well, we may have, or a book summary. So, you know, for that, in that example, right, maybe it's opening a Git abstract, book summary, right? That's what asset you've opened. Or you may be moving into a course that you've said that's going to go from, you know, January 15th for the next 5 weeks, and then you're signing up for that, and maybe that's launching the NovoEd platforms for that class, or the registration for the class that's sitting on NovoEd. So we are very mindful of our user experience and make it as seamless to our users as possible, so that they're not, you know, clicking on something and then having to log into something else, that people have a good, seamless, integrated experience as you move through.
Are the partner MOOCs free?
That would be great, but no. It depends on who our provider is, but most of them do incur tuition. And again, many of our partnerships that we have are, you know, we pay by the seat. So if there's like I mentioned, maybe there's a January class and we have, you know, 50 participants in it, you know, we're paying for the 50. We're not, you know, signing up for 100 seats per class where we don't, you know, again, it's by demand. So that's part of our marketing and making sure people are aware of what we have within the marketplace, and educating everybody about the portfolio and what they can find and sign up for. So yeah, it's a mixture of what you pay for and what's, you know, quote unquote free, right? Because some of it is you know, contracts that I might manage on the other side of it, but from an employee perspective, they just get to use it at no cost.
As an international organization, how does GE adjust online learning to enhance understanding and implementation?
So Clara, probably be helpful if I had a little bit of context on what they mean by implementation.
Sure. Whoever asked the question, as an international organization, how does GE adjust online learning and enhance understanding and implementation? If you could clarify your question in the chat box, that would be great. And while you do that, we can perhaps move on to the next one.
Okay. Great. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Is there a vetting process for content submitted by others in the learning community?
So yes, one thing, so part of my role, right, curating and looking at what curriculum comes in, especially on the leadership side of the house, but GE being a large, you know, we talk about a big global company. I mentioned functional learning. So across our functions, we have functional learning leaders. So if they were bringing up maybe the HR Academy, I mentioned that one. You know, they're responsible for curating, and, you know, maybe they have their own partners or, you know, running their own courses and content that maybe they've developed with, you know, subject matter experts, et cetera. So they own that portfolio. And if they're, you know, utilizing BrilliantYOU to build their community or an academy, you know, with BrilliantYOU, we give them the space and help them do that. But from a content perspective, they own that, as well as even some of our business. Now we have businesses joining BrilliantYOU. So like our power services group has a learning, you know, team within it, and bringing that within BrilliantYOU, healthcare, et cetera. so they kind of own and curate. So we don't vet everything. And actually right now we are looking at the capability of user-generated content, right? So even building more of that social and expertise around areas around GE. You think about some of the engineering and R&D and just talent we have within our own organization and the ability for them to have an opportunity to be able to share. So that's something that we've been looking at, we are working on from a platform and technology for the year.
How do learners practice the skills they learn? Are there interactive activities or simulations? What are people doing online?
Yeah, so some of that comes into, some of the functional learning have some simulations that they build into some of their programs. I think as you think about, NovoEd is a great example of that, because one, and there are other platforms out there, but with NovoEd, the capability to, one, be able to bring people together asynchronously is even, if you want to bring them together synchronously, you could do that. Allow them to learn something, pair up in groups, go and practice together, share, the peer feedback. The cohort capability and functionality is really great within the NovoEd platform, and that's something that, others we've looked at don't have, right? And so as you want to bring a large population together around a topic or a course, and I mentioned our sales organization doing this for outcome selling, right? You've got sales folks all over the place, and you've got them all in the same class. Great, now we've broken them up into cohorts, and then they can work together and practice, right? I mean, you think about taking a classroom experience and bringing it online. Well, if we were doing coaching, talk about, leadership presence. Well, if I'm going to go, I can videotape myself. I can upload that video, and my cohort or my peers can be responding to that, right, and giving me pointers. So the technology really does bring a lot of capability that we probably didn't have 3 years ago, or it would have taken a lot of different systems and trying to Band-Aid them together, where now we have platforms that enable us to bring those type of opportunities to our learners. And it's for us, right, as many of us might be have an instructional design background, right? So as designers, how do we think differently about, translating that opportunity or experience or that simulation that you're wanting in maybe that classroom and bringing that online? There's a ton of capability that, technologies enable.
Is FastWorks your lean learning programming?
So we have, GE is known for Six Sigma, right? And then we have lean. And FastWorks is if anybody's familiar with Eric Ries and the lean startup, we've kind of modified lean startup for GE and definitely focused on our customers, engaging them in the process early, and then, doing those small experiments. So we kind of call them we call them LOPAs, what's our opportunity, what can we test? So it's kind of a different mindset and the way we work. So as we were talking about that 125-year-old startup, how do we get an organization the size of GE to think differently in how we approach our work, right? Because, if we look at end-to-end of the time it takes to develop a jet engine, it's years, right? So how can we work with a customer along that process to make sure we're getting it right? Let's not find out 2 years down the road. Let's get it up front. And then you think about additive manufacturing that goes in with that, with 3D printing, huge opportunities for us from an industrial business.
Great, thank you, Sarah. And we're out of time now. That was our last question for the day. But to everyone's question we didn't get to, both Sarah and Ben were certainly, or Sarah and Greg will try to follow up with each of you to make sure those get answered. So I just wanted to thank everyone for tuning in today, And a special thank you to NovoEd for sponsoring this webcast and to Sara and Greg for presenting such great content.